I was saying that today is a special day for us at ENSA because we get to hear what the student wants us to do, and that's of the university as well. But before we get to what the student wants us to do or expect from us, we have a special video that we put together that we're going to show you by our communication and social media team. It's about what we do at ENSA, and we'll be super excited in your various offices and departments. If you want to let other people also know about what we do at ENSA, we'll be super glad to share the videos with you so that you can share with your people as well. Thank you so much. And on that note, we can get to the video.
We are ENSA, and we'd like to welcome you to the Edinburgh Napier community. ENSA is a registered charity supported by the university. Our objective is to make the student experience at Napier the best it can be. We are independent, but our team engages positively with university staff at all levels to ensure the student view is considered in everything we do together. To help you learn more, we have produced this short video to introduce ENSA, our team, and what they do.
ENSA Advice offers free, confidential, independent and impartial support to all Edinburgh Napier students on academic and welfare matters. This can include extenuating circumstances, academic integrity, complaints, conduct, housing and funding issues. Our advisors can also support students at meetings with university staff. We work very closely with the university support services on more complex cases, helping students to continue with their studies.
We run a range of great events for students. Every September, we run Welcome Week and Welcome Back Week in January, offering a packed schedule of fun activities for both new and returning students. Throughout the year, we celebrate different cultural holidays, run campaigns like Field Fab Feb, and host free weekly Give It a Go sessions on all campuses. We finish our year with Varsity, where our clubs face off against Queen Margaret University, as well as our Societies and Sports Awards Ball. ENSA has various partners to support our event offering. These include Native, our media sales partner and ticketing platform, the Three Sisters Bar, and Edinburgh University Students Association. Besides their financial support, these partners allow ENSA to host larger events and give student groups the opportunity to book spaces for their activities.
We support the student voice and ensure that students are involved in every level of decision making at the university. At class level, this is through our programme reps. Every class should have at least one. And on a wider scale through our elected student co-presidents. We also have a student council, which is open to all students and meets throughout the year to discuss the most important challenges that students are facing and how we can work together to address them.
ENSA hosts more than 40 student societies with over 1,000 members. With a diverse range of groups, there's something to suit everyone. Whether you want to explore a passion, discover a new interest, or connect with like-minded individuals and build lasting friendships. These societies cover various interests, including musical, performing arts, academic, cultural, and hobby-based activities. Each society is student-led, supported by ENSA, and open to all Edinburgh Napier students. They provide opportunities for all students to find their place and enrich their university experience.
At ENSA, we have over 30 sports clubs who bring together a vibrant community of over 1,000 members who share a passion for their sport and staying active. Our clubs offer competitive, recreational and social opportunities to cater for all players of all levels. Our competitive teams represent the university in weekly National League and Cup fixtures on Wednesdays and weekends. Our social offering is driven by the clubs themselves, ensuring a welcoming environment for all students and creating inclusive opportunities for everyone to get involved.
I'm Evans Egan.
And I am Chika Mavis.
And I'm Ryan Cairns.
We are ENSA's student co-president for the session 2024-2025. We were elected by Edinburgh Napier students for the term of office lasting 1 year.
It is our job to act as student representative, ensure that the student voice is always heard, and campaign for improvement for our students.
Elections are held for our post every spring in an online ballot. You can learn more about our roles and everything else mentioned in this video on our website at www.napierstudents.com.
Okay, you can applaud if you want. Thanks to Patricia and Craig for doing that. That was really kind of them. The idea behind that video was it was actually produced for staff at the university. It was produced for current staff. It's produced for new staff as part of their induction
because we believe that there will be 1,800 members of staff across the university who are advocating the work that ENSA does. And we just felt it was time to sort of reset and show you that. So thank you. We now have a piece of work from Eddie Graham of IBP Strategy and Research. This is the great big ENSA student survey. We decided to do this only online so that we could save ourselves about £7,000. But I think the results will give you an idea of what students think just now within our community. It's more of a community participation exercise than a survey of students. And Eddie will give you the results of that now.
Thanks. So, rarely introduced as a piece of work, but I've probably been introduced as worse, folks. Thanks for the opportunity to come along today and just quickly share with you the findings of the student voice survey. Tony mentioned, conducted online generally over the period of November just into early December. That process managed to get 360 responses. Now, you'd love to have thousands of responses, but these things are always challenging. But 360 is a significant number of people, and especially actually in something like this, where although there was an element of tick box, we were asking people lots of open-ended questions and kind of coding those answers and finding out what they told us. But overall, that figure, firstly, is broadly representative of the student population in terms of things like campus and in terms of part-time, full-time students and so on, and indicatively gives us a margin of error of plus or minus 5%. So I won't bore you with all the stats around that, but it does, I think, give a relatively clear view of the things that students are looking for in terms of their student experience. That phrase student experience was used in the video, and the focus of much of this is around those student experience questions. So there's a couple of things I'm going to show you here. Although some of these charts are in histogram form, they're actually based on our coding of 300 odd comments from people where we've taken them into some kind of common themes. We also did some prompted questions around those. But I think what was interesting, when we asked the first question overall, what did you hope to get out of your time at Edinburgh Napier University? I think there's a couple of things that were interesting for me in this. Firstly, people don't write one thing. They tend to write 2 or 3 different things. But so what we've done is we've kind of taken these common themes, say, okay, where do these comments kind of fit in? And as you can see there, academic issues are paramount. And so in 3/4 of those comments, people do mention academic issues. What I thought was really interesting, though, is that we've coded a lot of the comments there to themes that are around networking and personal development, and they're actually, in a sense, they are 2 different things, and there's a bit of further teasing out, I think, to do around those issues. But it's very clear that in terms of students' initial desires of what they wanted to get out of their time at university, networking, those connections, as well as wider personal development in addition to academic development, were, I think, very significant issues. And perhaps people less likely to mention some of the other aspects of the student experience, but we will come to get those. And you can see when we do the word cloud around these things, we see lots of words that are in there about learning, about confidence, about friends, about networking, about people, and all of these kind of words about the connections that people want to make. So that I thought was interesting in terms of what people were saying that they wanted to get out of their time here. When we asked them this question of what were the main reasons why you chose to come to Edinburgh Napier specifically, partly we were looking, again, we used the same kind of coding framework, but we also looked to see was there anything significantly additional to that. Now, overwhelmingly, these comments were about academic reasons. It was typically around, occasionally it was around, well, I could get in there, but more commonly it was around the university is well known for the particular course that I do, it's respected in the areas that I'm interested in. So those were the most kind of common references in terms of academic. In this chart, we have added in another segment, which is the location and ease of access issues. So there were a number of the comments where like, I wanted to be in Edinburgh, this is where I could get to be in Edinburgh, it was easy for me to get to here, to study here, where I live. So again, you can see the kind of themes there. And yeah, lots of stuff around location, lots of stuff around the kind of the academic themes immediately emerging there. Interesting though, when you then ask people a further open-ended question around what actually are the things that you like about the university. So again, this is still whatever it is there, 337 individual comments that people made, and we've coded them to these key themes. So again, you know, there's lots of positive things in there that people reference about their academic experience, but there's a bigger spread of issues here. There are a significant minority of those comments where people reference sports clubs and societies, where they reference advice and wellbeing support, which I thought was interesting because actually it's in similar studies that we've conducted, that's sometimes been lower because it's kind of sometimes something that people don't know that they need till they need it, if you like. So it was interesting to see that that was relatively high. And also already some element of potential for networking and personal development, but less likely to say that, and this is about what they like at the moment, less likely to mention things related to specific services like food, drink and other services on campus, less likely to mention the social dimension in terms of social activities. So again, the word cloud there highlights some, I think, of these kind of keywords that are already there. And again, friendship, well-being, campus community, some of the kind of key things that you can see there. Now, moving this on, we did ask a couple of specific rating questions, if you like, tick box questions. Now this particular one, we chose these 6 themes here. So academic experience, networking opportunities, wider personal development, availability of advice, wellbeing support, availability of food and drink, social events and participation in sports clubs and societies. And again, a couple of things I think to take out of this. So the question was how important or otherwise students consider these aspects to be. So the figures that you've got there are the mean rating on a scale that goes from 1 to 5. So if everyone says 5, it's a 5. If everyone says 1, it's a 1. I think a couple of things. One is that all of these things are perceived to be important by a significant majority, in this case, of respondents. So I think in all of these cases, a majority answer 4 or 5 on that 5-point scale. If you discriminate between it, you see that academic experience comes first, but then those 2 elements of networking opportunities and availability of advice and wellbeing support come just a little bit below there. We asked a separate question to that, which was, okay, here's these 6 things, now rate them 1, 2, 3. What was kind of interesting there, firstly, was that the academic was number 1. So in, I think, 70 to 76% of cases, people said, okay, my academic experience is my most important aspect. However, what I thought was kind of interesting there is that there wasn't a clear number 2, and actually students were mentioning a range of these other priorities as their second most important option when they were asked to do that kind of 1, 2, 3 ranking. Now, I think that's interesting because what you generally have, therefore, are significant number of people are saying, well, actually, what's important to you? Well, yeah, my academic experience, but then a whole range of other things that are all in people's minds, and folk don't look for a single thing, if you like, in relation to their experience. Satisfaction or otherwise with these elements. So again, this was a structured question that said how important how satisfied or dissatisfied were you? Similar kind of scale, so from a very dissatisfied to a very satisfied. So 5 is the better score. And academic experience and availability of advice and wellbeing support being the most well-regarded elements. Others, pretty much everything in the kind of 3.41, well, everything in fact in the 3.41 to 4.01 rating. So somewhere between, if you like, the mean or average score there being a good for academic experience, but a little bit lower actually as you start to get into ratings for some of these things like social events and activities, participation in sports clubs and societies. That's not a commentary on individual sports clubs and societies, for example. It's about the whole offer, if you like, in terms of people's experience. And it's reasonably positive, but clearly could be higher. So, in this part of the questionnaire, we again asked, in this case again, another open-ended question where we said, so actually, what would make things better? A whole bunch of comments there, 278 individual responses that are in there. Again, what I think is interesting here is, yes, there's some specific academic elements, and there's a lot to tease out in each of these individual elements that's beyond the time that we have today. But again, for me, other than perhaps advice and wellbeing support, which possibly suggests that people are kind of quite content with what's there already in most cases, is the breadth of spread of these things again, where each of academic, food, drink and other services on campus, sports club society, social, networking, personal development, again, a significant and a broadly spread minority of respondents are referencing issues related to those broad themes as areas that they feel would enhance their experience as a student at the university. And again, the ubiquitous word cloud, and you can see some of the kind of key things. And it's everything from lecturers to societies, to library, to communication, to campus, to words like social, words like food events, that breadth of things that people will be interested in. So that's a quick distillation, I think, of some of the core themes that were emerging out of the first theme here, which we headed just experience of Edinburgh Napier University. And I think the one thing that I would particularly come back to just in that segment was the extent to which people coming to university hope not just to get an academic experience, but also that broader networking and personal development experience, and a spread of other activities that are important to at least some people. We took the opportunity here to also broaden this out somewhat to issues that are about students, if you like, wider experience in terms of not just the university, but their whole life experience as things stand. And what we did there is we said to folk, okay, tell us what are the most important issues affecting the student community at Edinburgh Napier University. And we brainstormed a number of those things. And you can see that the issues here, again, these are the coding of the open-ended comments, and they're ordered in descending order. And I think a really interesting theme, or a number of themes that emerge around here. When people are asked to do that write-in basis, issues around cost of living were really up there. Related to that, housing and transport, and also mental health and wellbeing issues. And again, in each of these, again, there's a teasing out. What does that mean in practice? What are the individual comments saying? What might we do about it? Now, that's not to say that some students don't perceive all of these other issues to be important, but they're all, other than those, in the single figures. And it's those kind of big picture issues of cost of living, housing, transport, and students' mental health and wellbeing that kind of stood out when in those open-ended comments. Again, reflected in some of the kind of words that were here. We asked this again in a slightly different way. That was the open-ended comments, but we also just gave folk the tick box options of how to respond to this. So, and actually, this gives you a marginally different perspective, but only marginally so. So again, this is a case where people could essentially rate the importance of each issue up to a score of 5. So actually, when we do it this way, transport actually comes just above cost of living overall. Cost of living is still up there, housing is up there. All of these other things, with this, to some extent, an exception of social political issues and climate change, are rated highly as highly important by most students, and in most cases over a 4. But you see the key things being up there, and also mental health and well-being. Actually, when people reflect on it and are asked to do that kind of tick box response, pretty high up there. Now, Again, we asked that question in a slightly different way, and what was kind of interesting, we didn't get too many others, which made us say, well, okay, I think we probably have got the right range of lists that are here. But we asked this question again in a slightly different way. We said, well, here's this list of things, you can choose 3 of them. Which 3 would you like to choose? And that helps just to give that kind of relative sense of priority. So what actually came out of that were housing, first of all, 66%, putting that as one of the 3 top issues for students at the university. Cost of living, 53%. And actually transport was a little bit down the line. Actually, the 3rd issue in this one was students' mental health and well-being. Now, again, that requires a bit of unpicking. Some of that can be around academic pressures, but I think it's not unreasonable to say and to impute that some of those challenges that are in here in terms of things like cost of living, housing, transport will impact on students' mental health and well-being. And I think if you think about the things that you may look to do to address those issues, and it does take us back to some actually of the things that we talked about in the previous section about opportunities for networking, opportunities for connection with people, opportunities for personal development, sense of community, are all things that are positive enablers of good mental health. So I think there is a connection that needs to be kind of considered in there. So hopefully I've made that within the 20 minutes. For me, I just tried to kind of have a look at what these, and it's hot off the press, we closed this last Wednesday, so there's a wee bit of digging into some of the detail for ourselves and for colleagues going forward to do, but to try to summarise what all this says on one page. I think there are kind of key emerging themes that are about enhancing that wider networking and personal development, building more of a sense of community and developing the student experience generally, but also looking at how you can work individually, collectively, to address the challenges students face around things like housing, transport and costs, as well as promoting positive mental health and well-being. So I'm aware there's other pieces of work they've been doing, but I hope that's a contribution in terms of setting an agenda of the key areas that would need to be explored. We might have a few minutes, Tony, for questions.
We're going to do questions and chat at the end, if that's okay.
Okay, that's grand. So I'll just say, if you'd like to applaud, that's absolutely fine, but we don't insist on it or anything like that. But thanks for your time, folks.
Thank you, Eddie. Now, as Eddie just said, that is hot off the press. We didn't actually see this until this morning. And we wanted to be able to share it as ENSA, but we also wanted to share it to any students who are watching now. We wanted to share it with the staff of the university, because I think it's important that when we do a survey, we do feedback to the people who participated in it, which is why we did that. We will share the whole report to you once we get it, but that's just the whistle-stop tour. But what we wanted to do now was actually put it into some level of context of the work that ENSA has been doing and some of the new stuff that we've been doing as well, so you get to see that. So I'd just like to now invite Daniel up to do the next bit, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it all corresponds.
I'll make it correspond. Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Daniel. I'm the Head of Representation and Leadership Development at ENSA. So I look after program reps, student council, etc., a whole range of things. So I'm just here to present a little bit about what work I've been doing with our student council, and basically why during the summer I decided to take what was there before and rip it all up and start again from scratch. So first, what is Student Council? It's a forum for discussion and debate. It's a place to bring forward policies to be implemented by ENSA. And it's a space to raise awareness of student issues, share insights that students might have into those, and then suggest improvements about said issues. And it's a group to hold the student presidents to account on the work of behalf of Napier students. All same as everywhere else, commonplace. Everywhere, every students' union, every students' association, and every school, a lot of them as well, has a forum like this. But as we are increasingly finding, and as we found last year, and in discussions with lots of other similar institutions, as they are finding too, the traditional model of student council no longer works with the way that students are today. So, what did we do with it? So, traditional student council focuses on individual motions, akin to Parliament, in which an individual student or maybe a small group of students may write a motion about a certain thing that they would like to do, and that they would then bring it to student council, present it to the group, and then the student council would vote on it and either decide to do it or not do it. However, students don't do that anymore. Last year, we got 0 motions submitted by any students at student council. And in speaking to other MEs at various other institutions, they're all encountering the same kind of thing. Students don't want to put themselves forward to do that anymore. So, in order to change it, we changed student council into more of a community workshop kind of feel. Students don't have to do it individually any longer. Instead, they can submit a motion, quote unquote, as a community. And they can do that and decide what they want to put forward as a workshop instead. So students don't have to stand up at the front like this and go, I want to do this, who wants to vote, yes or no? Instead, they can just discuss in a group and then decide what to put forward together. It takes the pressure off and students are a lot happier to take part in it. Traditional student council, again, is linked to that, is presentation and then debate. It's someone standing at the front like me and then going blah, 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 and then a little bit of debate on it if students want to do it. Again, students don't want to stand up at the front and go blah, 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 because that's scary. And honestly, they just don't have the time. As with that workshop, you make it more of a discussion instead. You take it away from the front of the room and put it within the room so that students can have said discussion around individual tables as small groups. It's less scary, it's less pressure, but it's way more effective and students are more happy to do it. Traditional student council, as last year, was contained to a single meeting. Discussion came into the meeting, it happened or didn't within the meeting, and then it never went anywhere else. It was in that single room at that single point in time. However, now, with the new student council approach, there is progression across meetings, which I won't come into here, we'll come on to that in a moment. Traditional student council has closed and elected membership. So when I joined last August, the student council that I was handed had a maximum number of students of 50, and they were elected from various constituencies around the university. So a certain amount of programme reps from Merchiston, from Sighthill, from Craiglockhart, a certain number from societies, a certain number from sports. It was a mess. No one quite knew what they were doing. No one wanted to put themselves forward in order to be elected, because what happens if you lose? What happens if you don't get elected? Or what happens if you fit into multiple different categories? Should I put myself forward for the society member or should I put myself forward for the programme rep? It was confusing and nobody wanted to do it. So therefore, you get rid of that and now it's an open membership. Our student council now no longer has an elected membership to it. It's open to every single student that is here at Edinburgh Napier University, no matter where you are studying. Whether that's online, whether you're studying in Australia, there are a few of them, and they have been joining our meetings, which is surprising. But making that membership open means that students don't have to come and feel like they are missing out on something because they're like, oh, I wasn't elected to that, maybe I shouldn't go to it. The fact that it's open means that everyone feels welcome and that everyone can take part in the discussion instead. Traditional student council issues were led by us. We came to student council and said, right, everyone, we're talking about housing today. Whether you like it or not, sit down, the doors are locked. And then we'd talk about housing or everything like that. But what happens if there was a group of students in the room who were sat there going, I don't care about housing. I want to talk about the buses or something like that. Well, tough luck, it was led by us. Now, issues are led by students.
As you'll see in a moment, students decide what they want to talk about at each meeting, and just based on what they've talked about in one meeting, will decide on what they talk about in the next meeting. And traditional student council engagement was limited to only in-person attendance. If you were in the meeting, fantastic, we want to hear what you're saying. If you're outside of the meeting, well, we don't care. New student council engagement is open to all, as well as opening the membership to allow as many students as possible to come in and take part in that discussion and debate. We have also opened it. We hold all of our meetings hybrid online. For anyone who doesn't hold open big meetings like this hybrid, please do it. Students have literally come up to me and gone, thank you for doing this. It means I don't need to get out of my bed. And as you'll see as well, engagement is not limited to just within the meeting. We also engage students in the student council process between meetings, before meetings, and after, which we'll come on to. So these are the changes, kind of things that we made. And again, this was all a case of thinking about what didn't work, ripping it up and starting from scratch. Did it work? Did it not work? Well, it seems to be working. So before the first meeting of student council, based on the discussions with students, issues that were raised last year, frequent problem areas that our advice service were getting and that students were just coming up to us and chatting about, we identified several issue areas that students care strongly about and want to see the improvements in. These issues were then included in a short survey, I know, another survey, there's a lot of them, that was then sent out to all programme reps and then other student groups. And we asked the students to rank those issue areas by what was most important to them. A little bit similar to what you just heard about, it all ties together. These are the issue areas. And again, there should be nothing that surprises anyone here. These aren't ranked or ordered, by the way, they're just there. So employment, health and well-being, housing and accommodation, personal safety, personal finance, budgeting and money management, public transport, disability and accessibility, Black, Asian and ethnic minority representation, environmental sustainability, and LGBTQ+ representation. In meeting one, students were then introduced at that meeting to the wider issue areas that had been identified. So the ones on the previous slide, these ones here, students were introduced to them in the meeting, said what they were, said about the survey and things like that. And then they were asked to rank them by importance. These were the top 5 that came out. And they came out both in the pre-survey and they came out top within the meeting itself, which was a real hold your breath moment for me, but it was all good because it made my life easier. And again, these link very closely to what you just saw from our big survey as well. Which, I mean, a lot of the students are the same people filling these things out, so it should work that, and it did, which is nice. In that first meeting about the issues as well, the top 5 issue areas then got discussed in small groups, both in person and online. And that allowed students to identify specific problems within each issue area. So, okay, you've said that employment is an issue area for you. What are your specific problems that you face within that area? Is it part-time job or is it longer term employment? What kind of thing is it? We then got them to discuss with each other, again, in these little workshop small groups, and then as a separate online as well, and start to think about potential ways that those problems could then be addressed. In between the 2 meetings, we had discussion amongst various staff at ENSA, suggestions from the students as well, and university departments. Solutions were created that could potentially address those problems that students had identified. Again, coming back to before, about it being led by students, students identified the issues, students were then looking at what solutions they wanted, and it all was led for the students as well. The potential solutions were then sent out as a survey, again, that allowed students to rank which they would like to see implemented, as well as suggest further ideas and changes that they would like to see. So again, if students couldn't attend student council meeting, they could still engage in the whole process and tell us what they think by doing a survey outside of the meeting. It wasn't, oh, I'm working at the same time as that. Doesn't matter, we still want your viewpoint, there's still the opportunity to get it. And I know that from talking to students that they really appreciated that chance. In Meeting 2, the solutions, we reminded the students of the issue areas and the process that they'd been through and everything like that. Students were then asked to discuss the potential solutions that were under each issue area that we presented to them, determining what their viability was, the effectiveness of said solution, and how urgent was it that students saw that. Again, students were then asked to rank those potential solutions under each issue area by what they would like to see implemented. That gave us the top issue areas that students were facing and what the top solutions were under each of those issue areas that students would like to see, which therefore means that we can see exactly what students want to see happen, both by ourselves and the university and the wider community. As an example, because we don't have time to go through all of them one by one, happy to chat with anyone outside of this about these. This is an example for personal safety. So you can see on the screen 3 potential solutions that were put forward. Again, none of them overly complicated. A lot of them about communication, but some of them about a bit more than that. But a lot of them were around communication and making sure that students had access to the right information. But this is what it looked like. And we used, in the meeting, we used kind of Mentimeter and interactive elements to get that, again, making sure that it wasn't just me chatting at someone or someone else talking to someone. Students were able to do little things, and even if they didn't want to speak, they could still feel part of that student council process, whereas previously, they would just have to sit there. What's next? So, as I said, we now have the top ranked solutions for the top issue areas. They will then be further discussed with the relevant university departments. A lot of you are here already, so it's coming, so prepare yourselves. That sounds ominous. It's all good. University staff will then be invited to student council to work with students on implementing solutions. Students too much of the time have things done to them. They don't have things done with them. So we want this student council to not be, students say they do something, university goes away, does it, maybe does it wrong, maybe doesn't do what the students want them to do in the first place. We instead want the staff and students in the same room working on the issues, because that's how you move forward. You work forward in partnership. You don't just give something to the students. They want to be a part of it. So the student university staff will be invited to the meetings. So that'll be next trimester. So watch out for those invites. And student council will continue to use these community workshops and the discussion for students to raise various issues. So even though we've had this whole process, there'll still be the chance at meetings for students to come together and talk about how are things going? Have things improved or have they not improved? And we'll see how things go. That's an overview of what student council has become. I'm really happy with how it's going. Students seem to be responding quite well to it. And the biggest sign that we're doing something right is that every other student union that I tell about it wants to steal the idea. So that's the biggest tell that we're doing something right. So as I said, happy to take any questions at the end or happy to chat about this outside of whatever. Thank you. And I do insist on applause.
Flawless transition there. Hi everyone, my name is Alice. I am one of 4 student advisors with ENSA. So what I'm going to do is give you a brief overview of our service, run you through what our typical student profile looks like, and other developments as well in the last few months. So what we do. We are a free, independent, impartial, confidential advice service for all Napier students, no matter their school, no matter what they're studying. We are here for everyone. We are available pretty much all the time, Monday through Friday, accessible on all campuses. So you can find one of us at each advice office. We work closely with our Napier colleagues. We have extremely strong links with safeguarding, inclusion and wellbeing in particular, and student funding. We also work very closely with external organisations. So coming up on that side of the screen there is a list of the various things that we advise students on, anything ranging from appeals, which we are seeing less of, but I'll get onto that in a second, fitness of practice, complaints, other academic issues, so that might be issues with PDTs or other students, or maybe things going on within a classroom that we can help with, funding, fees, benefits, housing, budgeting, and another nice umbrella other welfare matters. So effectively, anything and everything a student can come to us. If we can't immediately help them with it, then we can signpost them onto someone who can. So our key figures, notably since July of this year, we have had 373 cases. And the key reasons that students are coming to us is money. Again, this is reflected in the survey results that we've just seen. This is all making sense, which is excellent. Academic misconduct, extenuating circumstances, academic appeal, health and well-being, and housing. So those are our key issue areas. Our observations from the last several months, money matters is now the #1 reason that students are reaching out to us. This makes sense, cost of living crisis, we've seen the figures before. The number of students seeking advice on extenuating circumstances is now higher than those seeking advice on academic appeal. In our view, this is positive. This is first-time occurrence for this. It shows that students are being a lot more proactive in seeking support before a deadline than afterwards, and they're actually reaching out to us or their PDTs or their module leaders, and then they're being signposted to us. What we will say is that EC cases are becoming increasingly complex, so needing to work with, again, as I say, safeguarding, health and well-being, keep on track. They are getting even more complicated. We are seeing a decrease in the number of students for academic appeal. As everyone in this room will be aware, the regulations changed somewhat recently. You can no longer appeal on EC grounds. We've seen that reflected in our numbers of students coming to see us. Our typical student profile. So what you can see there, hopefully, our big chunk is the business school. It's where we see most of our students. It's also the biggest school, which makes sense. Closely followed by Skibby. Level of study, predominantly seeing postgraduates. However, we are seeing an increase in the number of PhD students in recent months, which again is positive. Obviously, our service is out there, people are aware of us, which is fantastic. We will be meeting with the head of the doctoral college in the new year, just to touch base and see if there's anything that we can do together, information sharing, and Daniel will also be present at that meeting. Student status, you can see quite close now between home and international students. This is a change for us as well, slight decrease in internationals. Again, that's due to the immigration law, changes in that, and we are seeing an increase in our home students that we're seeing as well. Other developments. The first of which is very close to me. So our student listening service, which I hope everyone at ENSA will be aware of, but I hope their staff is also aware of this. It's effectively a peer support programme. So we currently have 3 trained student volunteers in mental health first aid. And what they do is basically lend an ear to students in need of a bit of support. So at the moment, they've been attending various events put on by our fantastic events team. They're there if anyone needs to chat. They attend the events, give it goes, their pet support lunches. It's advertised in the event that they're going to be there. So they really are available if a student does not want to talk to member staff. It's basically their gateway to some information. All of these volunteers have been trained how to signpost, so they know what services are available, both within the university and outside. So they can really be the first point of contact for a lot of students who feel uncomfortable talking to staff. We are continuing to participate in Welcome Week and our ENSA stalls. This is nice for us. Often we are at the desk, so it's nice to be out and about and to be talking to students. And again, not always about negative things that they're worried about, just getting out and talking to them about what's going on. We are now also a member of the Edinburgh Advice Network, which is basically a forum for various advice places in Edinburgh, but it's good in terms of information sharing. And something that's coming up very soon is our campus rotation. So I mentioned earlier that there are 4 advisors in the team. We're based at all 3 campuses, and come January, we will be having a swap so we can get to know staff and students on other campuses. This is my final slide. It's my favourite slide. So what our students have been saying, I won't read these out to you, I'll just leave them up there. But very positive feedback of late, which we're very pleased to see. And my favourite text box of all, We have currently a 100% satisfaction rate with our students. So something that we're very proud of, something that we want to continue, but it's interesting to see the results of the survey very much the same as what we're seeing. So lots of good stuff happening and looking forward to continuing the good work in the new year. Thank you.
So for those online that I haven't met, my name's Craig, and as the head of student activities, my remit is based around our sports clubs and our societies and how we develop them alongside our students and create a positive experience and community for them. So I just want to quickly update you a bit on some of the developments that have happened since I started my role 18 months ago. So there's been a few places where developments have been made. Firstly, around the ENSA staff support and what we're able to offer our student office holders. Secondly, a bit more around our channels for the student voice and how we get a bit more feedback. And then thirdly, around about university support and how we're working a bit more with departments in that area. So firstly, around our staff support, we've reintroduced in-person forums for all of our office holders. These happen 3 times in a semester. We bring them into various different rooms, usually in Merkston campus, but again, hybrid online to allow them that opportunity. Most of the time, it's us sharing information, making sure that they feel empowered to go away and plan around things that ENSA have planned. It also allows them an opportunity to engage with other opportunities that are happening around ENSA, including student council, and it's also a great forum for us to get feedback from students as well. So it's sharing information and highlighting development opportunities. A lot of what we offer from an ENSA perspective is around upskilling students. So we provide look after your mate workshops for some of our officers. We've looked at active bystander training, all of these things which you might not often think are a responsibility of students, but often come with the role. And we've also looked at how we use our processes and systems. So Microsoft Teams has become a huge part of how we work with our students. They don't like emails. We can't avoid it, so how can we adapt and overcome? And it's also made continuity for our societies and our clubs really a lot easier because information's all saved in one place. There's no, I've lost a password for this, I've lost a password for that. Everything's able to be supported appropriately. In terms of increasing the student voice, the main development that we've had is introducing volunteer committees, both for our sports clubs and our societies. As you can imagine, there's very different needs for both of those sets of groups. We have been able to, this year, introduce a development fund to go into where that money comes from. Anytime a club or society goes dormant, we have 2 years worth where we can hold any money that was raised by the club and say, if somebody wants to restart it, yes, sure, here you go, here's the funds. All of that money comes from students themselves. It's through their memberships that they raise. After those 2 years, the money gets absorbed by ENSA with the sole purpose of having that go towards our clubs and societies to continue improving the student experience. So what's been really helpful this year is that our student volunteers on the committees are helping our SABs, both Ryan and Evans, to make the decisions on where that funding goes through application process. It's another great channel for looking at student feedback. We've introduced things like no lower limit on, or no, I've lost my words now. We've been able to introduce free memberships for our societies based off of this feedback, as well as sports and society specific social event during Welcome Back Week, which has been asked for in this forum as well. And they also volunteer at some of our key events, such as Varsity and our awards ball. But we're always open to allow students to present ideas to us and get as involved as they want to in that capacity. Finally, we're always looking at how we can build a bit of a better connection with the university departments. So it's lovely to see alumni in the room and see about how we can work more closely with the connections that we have within the university. We look at our American football varsity event. There's a men's football alumni match. We also get guest speakers that come in from different areas to help our societies. The team from Engage, I'm hoping you're online today. It's really nice to be able to look at how we continue building our sport provision and how we can continue to grow our clubs and make the best use of spaces on campus. And finally, we've also this year, due to Ryan particularly and a lot of hard work there, introduced a new sport committee, which is a cross-institution body. Student futures are involved, lots of, basically any department that we could get at the table, we've got them there. And it's just to try and utilise the power of sport in particular to improve the student experience. Think about how we integrate all of the different ways of networking and personal development, academic matters, as well as sport and society experiences through that channel. What are we hoping to achieve with all of these changes? Better support for our student office holders. We recognise that role can be stressful, but there's also great personal development opportunities there. So we want to make sure that all students feel comfortable, empowered to be able to do things and create opportunities for other students. It's another great channel for feedback, as we say, so making sure that any changes we make in this area are meaningful and that we're not just doing things because we think they're right, it's because students have asked for them. And we're also looking at diversifying income streams. So right now, students self-fund. Everything that comes in for sports and societies is based off of student memberships. We're looking at hopefully finding new ways of creating opportunities for them to expand, grow, be as ambitious as they want to be to keep improving the student experience for many different people. So that is just a whistle-stop tour of where sports and societies have been. But yes, watch this space moving forward.
Hello everyone, I'm Jojana. I am ENSA's head of events and campaigns. As Alice said, basically the events team. Since September, I've also got an events and campaigns intern, Emily. So yeah, I will give you a bit of an overview of our Term 1 events. So we have had Welcome Week in September, a part-time job fair in collaboration with Student Futures, Spooky Season, which is what we call our Halloween events, a commuter support lunch, also in collaboration with Wellbeing and our advice team. We have had a Wellbeing afternoon also in collaboration with the Wellbeing team. We've had a Makers Market in collaboration with BRT. A Napier Student Film Festival led by our great student president, Evans. We've had a St. Andrew's Day Kaylee, some festive events. We've had a blood drive at Craig Lockhart in December, and also weekly Give It a Go sessions throughout the whole term. So to start off with Welcome Week. Welcome Week is where we get most of our engagement. This year, we've added info stalls every day at all the campuses with the help of 9 great volunteers. We had 39 events with 5,700 attendees approximately. 140 exhibitors at our Welcome Fair, which is the biggest one in Scotland. 74% of our events were open to under 18s. And 69% were free events because cost of living crisis. A bit about our Give It a Go program. Actually, I missed a few things about Welcome Week, so let's go back to that. So comparing it to last year, we have had an increase of 27.5% of under 18 events, an increase of 25% of free events, and an increase of 36% in non-alcoholic venues. 77% of our events were held off campus due to space limitations. But we've only spent 2% more than last year, but increased our income by 18% and profit by 52%. So now on to our Give It a Go program. Essentially, it's an initiative we started in October 2023. It's free drop-in events every week during term time, rotating between the campuses. Increasing engagement, supporting student retention, and improving well-being. So most of our things are craft events, because it's what kind of students like to see, but we do also have some recreational sports events as well. We had 14 events in term 1 and 130 students engaged. So it's like smaller events, but they really increase the community feeling and people like helping them find friends and stuff. So these 14 events, 6 of them were at Merkiston, 4 of them were at Craiglockhart, and 4 of them were in Sighthill. About the Napier Student Film Festival, just briefly, it was a project by Evans, our president for Societies and Community. It was a 3-day-long festival showcasing student talent from Napier, Edinburgh, and beyond. And over 200 students and staff attended the 10+ festival events. So our plans for term 2, mainly for Welcome Back Week, we have planned 17 events, daily info stalls. We're going to have around 15 volunteers, so it's great to see that increase each time. 41.2% of events are going to be on campus, 53% are going to be free, and 70% are going to be non-drinking events. We're also going to have a residence party on the 7th of February, which has come from Evans going around all the residences and asking students for feedback, and some more community events and specific events for them was something that they asked for. And then our Feel Fab Fab campaign is a month of well-being events. As you have seen from the survey, well-being is very much an important topic for students. So it's going to be some events around well-being, mental health, different things like that, including a petting zoo, well-being day, some recreational sport offers, crafts, various things are still in planning. Also, we're going to be having some monthly evening events at our partner union, ENSA. We're going to have varsity, our awards ball, and then the excellence awards for staff as well. So keep an eye out for invites for that. But yeah, that's everything from me.
Good afternoon, I'm Catherine. I'm the Student Engagement Team Lead at ENSA. You're almost at the end of our presentation, bear with us, but we hope you found today interesting and informative. But we basically want to take this chance to say that we'd also love to hear from you about any work you've been doing in this area. So if you've got your own feedback from students, if you've done any research, if you're sitting in a big bank of information from a university, then we'd really love to take it on board to make our forward planning as informed as it can be, so we can provide the best service to our students. We also, it's been a bit of a theme today, but we think that we best serve our students when we work in close collaboration with the university. So if you have an idea of how we could work together to meet any of these issues that have been raised today, then again, we'd love to have that conversation with you. So if you want to click on the QR code, or we've got paper copies here in the room, and it leads you to a very, very brief form. We're talking 3 questions, and it's basically allowing you the opportunity to share any of your thoughts with us, or to reach out and let us know if you'd like to work with us. So do take the time to maybe do that after we've heard from our last speaker of the day, Tony.
Thank you. So there's a small ripple of applause. Thank you very much. There's obviously a number of things that we've forgotten to mention or not mentioned today. We've raised nearly £10,000 with November, which is about £4,000 more than last year. We've not mentioned the project management challenge, where we're working with the departments to look at sustainability. All the stories that you've seen today, you can read about them all on the New Look website, which has got even more information, and will have more information in the new year. So there's a whole load of stuff going on. I've mentioned all the different social media channels, but I have to break those down now into which staff use, which the parents of students use, and which the ones students use. So it's getting a little bit complicated, but there you go. Has everybody managed to get the QR code? That would be grand. So what are the next steps? So we want to use the survey and the work that we've been doing to provide evidence for funding. We don't underestimate the amount of funding that we get from the university. In the great big wide world, of which I was a member of for a little while before I came back to the Students' Union movement, communities don't get funding in the same way that students' associations do. It's a substantial amount of funding, and if every community got some element of that kind of funding, then it would be a completely different place in the UK. We saw that during COVID, where funds were given out, and I would suggest that you know, the fabric of society may be a little bit less if it hadn't been for communities and the work that they did feeding people during that period of time and supporting people during that period of time. So we get a lot from the university. I will say, however, that it's not as much as everybody else gets. We've done the analysis, and we will make that case. But not just funding from within the university, but external to the university as well. What we would suggest is that we will use this to evidence need to funders. So that's what we'll do with that. And obviously, that's not the survey that we've done is not just owned by ENSA. We are happy to share that with any university department who wants to show need, and if they're looking for their own funding external to the university. We want to work in partnership with the University Departments and Solutions. Catherine touched on that in terms of the forms that you've got. There may be somebody may be sitting here going, "Oh, I've not been asked about that or that," and you know we can't do it for everybody. But if you could just tell us, yeah, we'd like to get involved in that, that would be absolutely fantastic. We're doing some work on student voice. We're going to provide a roadmap of the student voice with the university. And we're going to support students for active participation in the student voice and communicate improvements and celebrate success to students, which is something that I think student associations have been very poor at over the years, but we're starting to address that situation. We want to embed everything that we do into the university values, so we're doing some work on that with the university. And we want to encourage student activities to support well-being, retention, career progression, and engagement with the university after graduation. I think it was Craig mentioned that alumni. I think people get involved with that if they've enjoyed the community that they work in, and I imagine that alumni gets a lot of the people who come back were involved with clubs and societies. So if we times that by 3 or 4. From where we are now, that can add a great community, not just within the university that exists already, but the future community out with that and the work that they do within their own communities as well. That's what we're going to do with all this information. It will inform our plans moving forward and our next strategic plan. And obviously with the new principal coming in, I'm sure she will have ideas of how she wants to take the university forward, and hopefully we can do it all together in a very proactive way. So that's our presentation for the day. Thank you very much to everybody who's attended here. I just want to say before Christmas to thank the sabbaticals and our members of staff at ENSA for some amazing work that they've done this year. I think you've seen today is that the work that they've been doing is absolutely exceptional, and I wish them a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year for that. But thank you very much for your help. Perhaps now we are happy now to open for questions, and if there's been any comments in the chat, we're happy to do that. And I'm sure that Eddie's here to answer any questions on the survey as well. So, have we exhausted you? Go on. You got a question at the back? Or?
Oh no, I don't have a question, but just to like take a moment, we're actually not like a part of the university, we're an external organization. We were given the invite to the presentation, which is why we came a bit late. But thanks for everybody for not like, being very accommodating with that. I think some of the reason that we attended is because we're an agency working to support international students who want to study in Scotland. And we specifically promote Scotland, and Napier is our partnered university. So I think I found the research very interesting. I just wanted to ask, would there be a chance for the presentation, like would it be given to us? Because I would love to like refer back to the research, because we work actively with student unions to understand the issues that international students or students in general are facing?
We'll certainly be providing the report, and this presentation here today has been recorded and it'll be shared to everyone.
That's perfect. Thank you.
It is probably just worth adding to that, Tony, that the full report of the element of work we've done will have breakdowns by characteristics that include international students. So without breaching any confidentialities or anything like that, it will be possible to extract information for international students, but also, for example, for postgraduate students and other student characteristics.
Yeah, and we'd love to connect to see how we can support with other opportunities such as anything with student voice.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else from the room? Is there anything from the chat?
There's a comment from a lecturer at Sighthill just saying that she had to drop off to go to the meeting, but that the survey results are very reassuring. And she's saying that she thinks academic teams understand the student context through our ongoing contact with students and are already working to address the challenges and meet aspirations.
Thank you. Anything else? Something just came up on my screen, I'm not sure if it came up on yours.
That's just a very big thank you for a great set of presentations.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everybody. That was so interesting. And it was lovely to get the sort of showcase from each of the teams as well in ENSA. I wanted to pick up on student council. And one of the things I think is lovely is that solution-focused approach you're taking with the students. I think that's one thing that we sometimes find difficult. You know, we hear about things that aren't working so well, but we don't necessarily know how to go about making the improvements, or at least making them in the way that students might want them to be. And so I think that's great to be having those conversations. The one thing for me is around how we link up with people in the university around those solutions, because I suppose one of the risks is students co-create solutions and then they're coming to the university, and is there a danger that we say, actually we can't do that, or we tried this before, or whatever it may be, and that then comes back to the students and their 1, 2, 3 list becomes a bit defunct. So that was my one kind of.
Can I answer? Well, I'll give you my view, and then Daniel will disagree with it completely. So, I found it really, just as an observer, I found it. I think Daniel did touch on his presentation that we wanted to invite members of staff to the council, but I think that's to do two things. One, it is actually to feedback why decisions are made, and why maybe something isn't done in a particular way that seems quite logical to everyone else, but actually when you've gone away and you've thought about it in your environment, it's going, we can't do that because of resource, we can't do that because of confidentiality, we can't do that. So at least it's explained to the students why something is done a particular way, but from that, students might be able to turn around and go, but have you thought about this? Or perhaps you look at it a different way. So we're bringing in a different perspective from a, let's say, a younger perspective as well, so that there's a conversation there. But Daniel may have a different view.
Yeah, I think that the one thing that I will say out of the solutions that students have already spoken about and have already kind of said, this is what we want to see and things like that. So many of them, the university is already doing at least something in that right area. It's just really, really bad at telling students that they're doing it. So much of it is just around that communication piece. So for example, one of the things under employment was around specific workshops around things like CV writing and stuff, interview skills and stuff like that. Student Futures is already doing all that. We know about it, but that's because we're in the loop. We're just bad at telling students the fact that we're doing it. And we're also telling students information like that at the wrong times. We're telling them it kind of at Welcome Week or just after Welcome Week. and students have told us multiple times, we don't care at that point in time, because at that point in time, we still don't know what buses go places. So that's the information we're focused on there. So I think, so a lot of the concern is definitely there of kind of like, what if students say that we want Napier to build a boat, and we go, we can't build a boat. But I will say that a lot of the solutions, they are very practical and they aren't crazy.
Any other questions? I just have one for Eddie, really. I mean, Eddie, you obviously do this kind of work in other institutions. What's your view on the approach that we're doing here in terms of coming up with responses to what's perhaps in the survey, particularly in some of the open-ended questions? Do you think that will help inform some of the work we're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that was striking me as I was listening to Daniel, and I think I agree. I think the participative approach and the solutions-focused approach there is great and really is developing. I think an approach that's not terribly common in other student bodies and indeed in other organisations. So I was kind of really impressed to hear what's happening there. It was kind of striking me that process, and there's been a lot of setup of that process, but it's an ongoing dialogue, is one that has to continually be refreshed with input from students, and also, and with the best will in the world, that there is we can provide some of the answers through research, but actually it's more actually about setting the agenda, giving a perspective on how students feel, how in this case different groups of students feel, and I think using that as ammunition is perhaps not the right word, but using that as a body of evidence that those individuals taking part in council can use alongside the university, and in that kind of co-creation process to say, actually, we're identifying issues here now, let's use that evidence that we've got alongside our own inputs to say, what actually do we do in terms of turning that into practice. So I think that was for me a big kind of takeout from today. I think the other thing for me when I think about it is around, and again, fantastic, and it's the first time I've seen that scope of work that colleagues have been doing in ENSA, and again, fantastic to see so much of it. I think one of the things, and I think this is reflected in a lot of the comments that I've been reading so far in our survey. If we take issues like, I think mental health and wellbeing is a good example. I think there are specific interventions that you can make that help to address aspects of mental health and wellbeing. I think there are also, for want of a better word, infrastructural things that you can do there. There are things that are around setting the kind of context for university life that are, if you like, the things that promote positive mental health and wellbeing. And that's where I think some of the things about kind of community and opportunities and so on are really, really important. So yeah, I've been really interested in Daniel's and everyone else's presentations today, and I just hope that the information that's there from the students who've given a fair bit of time in terms of some of the feedback there, I do think can be used. It's not hopefully something that just sits there, it's actually a body of evidence that you can use as you take things forward.
Thank you. Anything from anyone else? Well, I think that's us for the day. Obviously, you're welcome to stay, finish off the mince pies, have a chat with each other. But thank you very much for attending in person. Thank you very much for attending online. It's much appreciated. As I said, the video is going to be available. This session has been recorded so people can watch it at their leisure. I'm sure they'll enjoy sitting through all those presentations. It was such great fun. And thank you very much. Have a good Christmas and a good New Year.